Welcome to the Village Podcast. I'm Elena Thomas. This show is for us, women, men, and everyone in our community. This show is for everyone that makes up our village. On today's episode, I'm talking to Sarah Morales. We recently got into a conversation on a run, and I enjoyed it so much, I wanted to share it with you guys. We talk about the seasons of life, cycles, giving yourself grace when you have to strip things out of your life and go to the basics. And we talk about the village that helps us along life's journey. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. Hey, Sarah. We finally get to connect. I'm really happy to talk to you tonight. We started a conversation a couple of weeks ago, and I just wanted to connect more on being a busy wife and mom and working and training for a marathon. I mean, we have so much going on that sometimes our brain or our bodies just shut down, right? So Tell us about yourself, where you live, who you are, what you do, all the good stuff.
Okay, well, my name is Sarah Morales. I live in Corona. I have two boys that are 5 and 2. I'm married to a wonderful husband. We both lived and grew up in Corona our whole lives. So it's been kind of nice to just continue that, like our family growing up here. And yes, so you had mentioned about my love for running. I've been running since I was in high school, cross country and track. And I've just kind of continued something that's just always been there as an outlet. Even through my college years, I just did it more for fun and before or after work or classes or what have you. And then I've kind of just taken it on bigger goals and continue to challenge myself from, just like a 3 miles in high school to several half marathons. And I've done one full marathon. But yes, I'm looking to do another one here soon, which is very exciting. But most of the time I'm just working full time. My husband also works full time. And then in our spare time, we are just trying to be as involved in our kids' sports and school activities as much as possible. And that's all.
The busy American dream, right?
Yes. It's very
for
consuming.
Sure. Now, when you say it's running is an outlet for you, how do you mean? How is it an outlet for you?
For me, I like to prioritize my time in the day to be productive, whether I'm getting my personal chores or tasks completed or my work tasks completed, right? I'm grateful that I get to work 8 to 5. So, and I have my weekends off. So I definitely make sure that I leverage that time at work and I'm truly saturated in what I'm doing and being a great employee. But then I also want to make sure too that when I'm home and focused on my family. So when it comes to running, that's my time to focus on me, whether I'm able to kind of just forget about what's going on at home or at work and just focus on something that brings me joy. It's challenging in its own way. But it's also just sometimes it's relaxing. It gives me a goal that I can focus on. I don't know. Something that I've always utilized when I was stressed from prior careers I have been involved with. And things were overwhelming. It was I can't wait to get home and run, even though I'm tired. It was just it's always there. It's always available. It's always accessible. I've always ran outside, obviously in high school, that's what we do, right? We run outside. And so I just continued that. I never even had a gym membership or ran on a treadmill. Was years that I never even got to have that experience. And I still don't like it, by the way. Treadmills are
I don't like it either.
No, I'd rather just take the day off.
For sure.
But yeah, so like I said, it's just using that time for me to think about me, that self-care, if you will. That's just what it's always been.
That's so awesome. Would you call yourself ambitious?
I would say so. Yes.
What are you ambitious for?
In what ways? Really one specific thing. I feel like in each like area, I definitely strive to be the best version of myself, whether it's to be a fantastic wife, right? Or a great mom for my kids. I get to run with a group. So I do feel like I try to be available to them in those moments, because there's not too much time in the day to like go hang out after work or things of that nature. So I do try to take advantage of that kind of one-on-one time if I am running with somebody to talk about that. But in terms of me being ambitious, I just really try to be a great person and the different aspects of my life and just try to be the most productive. I don't know. I'm like a list person, so I like to be efficient.
Yeah. Productivity has messed with me for so long. Mm-hmm. I am just, I think you're in your mid-30s. Is that right?
Yes.
So I'm coming right up on my mid-40s. So I've got about a decade on you. And that whole productivity, my counselor used to say that you are not a human doer, you're a human being.
Yes.
Because I don't know what it's like not to do stuff. Like that's just my way through life, is that I do stuff. A few weeks ago, you've mentioned that you had some health issues and that you've read a book called Do Less, and you passed it on to me. So thank you. I am reading through it. But I was kind of fascinated how just the beginning concepts of the book have helped you make some adjustments to your daily routine and care, and how that mind-body connection to almost have a permission to do less has helped you get out of your health rut. Can you describe what you were feeling, what was happening, and how you got out of it?
Yeah. So I think that for me, it's, and I'm sure there's other people that are like me, but me, from my personality, I'm just want to be able to do the most I can with my time, as much as I can with my time, whether it's, and I have like chores on top of that, right? On top of my kids' things and things that I want to do with them. And like, I want to go outside and go to the park with them. And then they have sports, and then we're going to go do this and we're going to do that. And we're going to do that. And it's just like one thing after another. And I want to do it all. I want to take it on, and I want to find time, and I will squeeze it in. I'll find a way, but then it starts to become like unrealistic. So then I would start to get like anxiety, anxious, because I couldn't get it all done. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow came, and then I would have more anxiety the next morning because I still couldn't get certain things done. And then I just kind of kept piling on new things. And, I was just kind of this bad cycle, and I didn't really know in the moment that I was in it. It definitely started to like affect me with my moon. And I thought maybe it was like just like hormones. I was like, I think I can work through this. And then I was like, no, I can't. Like, something's truly wrong. Like, there has to be like a health issue or a hormonal imbalance. Like, why am I feeling this way? And I'm not able to work through it. Like, why? I should be able to do it all. Like, this should be normal, right?
I've done it before. Like, I should be able to keep going at that pace.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that's when I kind of started realizing like, okay, well, like, what is like a standard amount of tasks in a day that I could take on? Like, what is the base of that? And let's start back at like ground zero and build from there, right? So my base is I have to wake up and get dressed and go to work. That's a minimum thing, right? I have to make sure my kids get dressed up and get to go to school on time. That's a minimum. So in the morning, those are my 2 goals. That's it. There doesn't have to be anything more. I can keep it very simple. And I kind of just went back to that that's the priority, for this, but I'm just giving you an example, like for a specific day. And that way it didn't seem overwhelming. And then I let myself just be okay with that for probably like 2 or 3 weeks, which was very hard for me. I did stop running too during that time, because I do run in the morning, very early in the morning.
What time do we meet, Sarah?
Usually 5, but depending on the day, sometimes I have to run as early as 4:30. And I'll be up and awake at 3:45. So I get myself 45 minutes to like truly wake up, drink water, stretch, get ready, and then picked up and drive somewhere usually. But yes, it's nice and early.
I know.
But there's a reason
every time you guys post those, we meet at 4:30 or 4:45. I was like, nope.
Yeah, we're there. But there was a reason to that. Like for me, in order to be able to have like my like self-care and that time invested in me, I wanted to make sure it wasn't going to affect the other aspects of my life or take away from my kids' time or my husband's time. And obviously it can't take from my work because I have a job. So for me, doing it in the morning was the only option, and I'm okay with that. That works.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
I'm a morning person anyway.
So life-giving. I was always kind of a morning person, but not like that until I became a runner. And that 5 a.m. is like my magic hour. Yeah. Because even when I'm not running, I am up and working out, doing my thing. I prioritize reading my Bible or taking a walk with the dog and either stretching or lifting weights. Like that 5 to 6 is my magic hour every day. I have found that just by doing that first thing in the morning, it's so life-giving that I am on for the rest of the day. Yeah, it seems counterintuitive that, I'm tired. I should sleep in, but every time I have made the decision to snooze or sleep in, I'm always kicking myself because I feel like I did not gain anything by snoozing and getting those, that extra hour. So I love the 5 a.m. I currently don't have any specific running goals, so it's a hard sell for me to make it just another 15 minutes earlier than 5 a.m.
It is hard.
But there was a time when we were training, when I had the same kind of fire under me to get all those miles in before 6 a.m., before you have to be home and on for the rest of your people. So that is so fantastic. So you found yourself in this place where something was wrong. Like, what did that look like? What was wrong?
Well, there wasn't specifically anything wrong. I even got blood work done. I got blood work done and everything was fine. And I just, like I said, decided to kind of start back at ground zero. I took a break from running. I went back to like the basics. The basics is, the dishes have to get done once a day. That's like not throughout the whole day. Let's just wait till the sink's full. It could be done at night after everything is dirty and just wash it once. Or one load of laundry a day. So it's not like 10 in one day. Like who has time to sit around the house for 10 loads of laundry and fold it and put it away? Like nobody wants to do that. My kids want to go. They want to go out. Anyway, so just finding a way to kind of break down all of those to-dos and split them up into smaller segments. That was huge. And like, I think the biggest thing too was to give myself grace. Like you were just talking about having
permission. Yeah.
Yes. There was a time when, this like last year or so, Natalie and I, we did 4 half marathons, and it came to the point where I was like, I can't train for more than 4 days a week. Like 4 days has to be the cap. Like I'm so burnt out. I was so tired. And I was like, I'm okay with that. I'm okay just running 4 days a week. Like that's my grace. I'm still going to train hard on those 4 days. I know that it's still going to make me a better runner. And I still PR'd. I PR'd every single half marathon, whether it was 5 days or 4 days, because I was still determined. And I still made it count, but I was like, that this is just all I can handle right now. So I think that to another example is being able to prioritize, give yourself grace. And those have been like the 2 biggest things to help me work through, kind of what I was going through.
Yeah. There is a quote that I wanted to read from, Kate Northup's Do Less book. Okay. She says, it is our deep programming. I used to look at people who didn't seem to be motivated to achieve as lazy, less than. But now I see the wisdom and value of just being. But how? What does it mean to me? Like how how are you just being in this time? Like, what does it look like? Is it just kind of catching a thought of like, I should be achieving, I should be doing something? And it's just like, no, I'm going to give myself grace and just take a deep breath and let it be.
Yeah. And that's what I do too. There's no other way to try. I'm not the type of person to like sit still though. Like I can't just sit on the couch and relax. I don't really watch TV. I know I'd recommended this too. I like went on my Instagram and deleted a ton of things that I was like following, or people that wanted to shop on Amazon and show you dupes and super cute outfits. I'm like, I don't need clothes. So why am I following you? Like, you're doing a fantastic job at what you do. And it's very entertaining, but there's no reason for me to follow you. Whatever it may be. Yeah. And I just removed so many things that were just not necessary or felt like were providing me value. And I switched to following people who were athletes and runners, nutritionists, physical therapists, people that were more involved in like the running aspect of my life. And that has been something for me that's just been more educational. So when I do scroll on my phone, or if I am looking at stories or reels, I feel at least I'm like learning something that I can apply to my training.
Your real life. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's actually life-giving. It's not a waste of time in a sense. It actually brings value to your everyday real life. Mm-hmm. One of the things that the book starts and talks about is this idea of cyclical cycles and seasons to our life, to our menstrual cycle, to the moon cycle, to our seasons. And living in Southern California, I feel like we've lost a lot of that seasonality.
Sure.
Where, people in other parts of the world that have 4 seasons, this is the time that they sort of get ready to do nothing for a lot of the time, and it almost feels so appealing to us here to just get in our cave and have a few months of not having to do anything.
Yeah.
But living in Southern California, sunshine, 350 out of 365 days of the year, it is a practice, really. It has to become more of a practice that we embrace and create seasonality rather than at this go, go, go pace that we are so used to, because it's nice all the time. So you feel like you need to be outside all the time. You need to do all the things because, those poor people back east, they don't get to do it. But look at us. Yeah.
We can go to the beach in November and that's okay.
Yes, I just did. I just had a wonderful day.
And you went in the water.
Swimming in the ocean. Well, I've been really enjoying cold plunging. So after our runs in the morning, a couple of days a week, I actually just get right in the pool and swim just a few minutes. But that shock to the system just feels so cleansing. So, I don't know, it catches my breath and allows me to breathe through this, uncomfortable until it becomes comfortable. And then I actually crave that. And like going to the beach, I craved getting in that cold water and staying there for a while. It just felt like it was calming on my nervous system. So I definitely want to add more of that cold plunging through this winter season because, summertime, the pool's pretty warm, but right now it's not exactly inviting. So it actually takes some guts to get in there. But
I might have to add that to my list.
I have found that to be kind of life-giving lately. And so kind of going back to the cycles and seasonality, I liked how she talked about that there are cycles to our work too. There are parts of our menstrual cycle where we have a lot of energy. So utilize that energy. And then, when you're on your period,
that's a time to like bury into yourself, you know, like reflect on the things and be more slow, a little more thoughtful about your day.
Yeah.
And I really like that because I've never really paid attention. I did not, I'm teaching my daughter who's, 14, that there are cycles, and then there's times where she feels more energetic, and there's times where she's like, I just want to lay down and do nothing. I'm like, pay attention to that, because I never really did.
And it's okay. It's okay to do that too.
Yeah. I feel like we burn ourselves out when we don't pay attention, when we just achieve and go, no matter what season, no matter what time of day, no matter what time of the month it is. So I feel like that is also giving yourself grace to embrace the cycles, right? So grace to even a training cycle, right? So you have a marathon training cycle that's 12, 15 weeks maybe, but then you've got to take a break. You can't just keep being go, right? So like beginning of this year, we started in December to train for Boston, and that Boston was in April. So that was a long season of grueling miles and just training to get to Boston.
Yeah.
I was injured in Boston. So after that, I took like 2 months off. as hard as it was. And it wasn't really hard not to run. What was hard was not being connected to our friend group. It's one thing to be on the group text thread, but when you don't show up and you don't do the grueling miles, then you're not a part of the conversations. You're not a part of that experience. And that is what I missed the most.
Like being there for each other.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that I really love about our running group is like the village that we've built, how we show up for each other and help each other. We all have our pairing or, group of 2 or 3 or 4 people that always show up and run at your pace and have the same training goals. I see that you and Natalie have the same goals of wanting to like better your running, qualify for Boston, get there. That is so fantastic. I love seeing that. So how has this like village showed up for you?
Oh my gosh, Elena, that's a big question. I mean, I think for me, it's kind of goes back to the whole thing of seasons. So I joined before I had kids. So it was more of like a way for me to like make friends, because at the time I was working a very stressful job, way too many hours, way too many days a week. And I didn't get a lot of free time, nor did I know, like, when you graduate and you have a job, like, where do you go to make friends? Like, where is that? I don't know. So I had reached out to somebody and they told me about the group. I kind of would run like once or twice a week. I never really like felt like I connected with anybody. But for like safety purposes and accountability, I would still show up. And then I got pregnant. I had my baby, my first son. And then I texted the group or like messaged, I think on Facebook back then, and was like, hey, are you guys still meeting at this place at this time? And they're like, yeah, come on out. And I was like, okay, sure. So then I came back out again and I ran a little bit on and off. And
that is when I met you. That was, we trained for LA Marathon in 2020, right?
Yes.
So we did that.
And that's how I met another person who had similar running goals as I. And that was when I trained for my first full marathon, right, in 2020, like you said. And then I got pregnant again.
Yay!
I know. And I had baby number 2. And then like a year after he was born or so, then I reached out again. I was like, hey, are you guys still running? And then here you guys were.
We still are. Yeah.
Still running. So I think for me, that's been like the biggest thing, is that kind of like that friend that you have that maybe like moved away and lives on the East Coast, and you may not see them, but when you talk to them or you meet up with them, it's like you've never left.
Right.
You pick up right where you left off at. You still have so many things in common. And that's kind of what this running group has been for me. Obviously, I have made so many more friends. There's like the group chat's up to 15-ish, give or take. And
Yes.
like, I feel like if anything were to ever, like if I were to ever need anything, I could text the whole group or somebody individually and it's like, boom, they would be there.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. We've watched that over and over with friends that were in need and people just show up. Yeah.
Yeah. Like little questions asked.
Love that village. Yeah. I had all kinds of notes on my phone that I wanted to talk to you about. But since I'm recording on my phone now, I think you're doing good.
I think you went over a lot of them. One thing kind of about the running group and having this village of friends. One thing that you had mentioned was like gratitude and what are you grateful for?
Yes. We're in the month of November, and so gratitude is like definitely on a lot of people's minds. It has been on mine. Just, I think that's part of my grounding practice is just listing the things that I'm thankful for. I find that if I'm in the mind of gratitude, then I have less of stinking thinking.
That's a funny. I love that.
Yeah. So, do you have any gratitude practices? What are you grateful for?
So, I mean, I'm sure I'm grateful for a lot of things because I am very blessed in this life. I will say, I never really looked at gratitude in that way before, where you just like think about it, I guess, or practice it. But more recently, I read another book because I love to read. I read another book. Yes. And it was, I can't think of the name right now, of course. But I actually have it right here. Let Your Mind Run. And one of the biggest things that she talks about that she did in her training, she's an Olympic runner and, she's amazing and has all these great achievements. And one of the things that she talks about is writing what she's grateful for after every run or like just over her cup of coffee in the morning and being like, I'm grateful. And obviously like digging deep, but like, I'm grateful for having great weather during my run and the wind or like, you know what I mean? Like the simplest, smallest things and just being able to take in the scenery while she's running. Mm-hmm. For me, when I run, I don't remember anything that I see. We were running trails this morning and I'm like, guys, I think we're lost. I think we're going the wrong way. And
it was a beautiful trail.
I was like, I don't remember going this way. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember. So for me, I think that's something that is an opportunity for me. I think it's something that I can dive a little deeper into. And to what you had said is in what she was reading in her book, she said that that's an easy way to help get out of that negative thinking, right? Is going back to what you're grateful for because you practice it regularly. It's something that you can always fall back on and use that to help you get through that like tough season, or maybe it's a tough day. I definitely think that's something that I could start using more regularly or try to pay more attention to. Definitely.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's been like dark, 5 o'clock for a very long time. But one thing that I always notice is the sky. So I'm looking forward to it as the time has changed now. Sometimes we run and the sun comes up and a lot of the times we notice the cotton candy sky or, it's extra orange. Look at the moon today. Those are the things that I feel like we usually notice. On the long runs, we do like to switch it up, don't like to do the same thing over and over again. So I definitely notice things when we run in different places. Sometimes we stop and take a picture of the butterfly or the, something that, that we come across that is really meaningful. But also just noticing the conversations that come up. I learn a lot by listening to other people's conversations on our run, their experiences, like you've talked about your experience with your health, and that immediately piqued my interest because I was like, oh, it's that concept of the body keeps a score. What if the struggle in the current health or whatever is, yes, hormonal, could be hormonal, but
Sure.
but what if it's it has to do with just the impact of previous experiences, right? And so just kind of like implementing that, somatic stretches and slowing down and getting curious. I've never really been a curious child or a person. And the reason why I noticed that I'm not naturally that way is because my daughter is super curious. She asks a lot of questions. And a lot of the times I'm like, I've literally never had that thought in my head, like ever. Like, why are you? But instead of like saying, why are you so interested in it? I'm like, maybe I need to be more curious, even about my own feelings or my own noticing or my own lack of noticing, my numbness in a way. So sometimes on the run, I even just notice the cadence or the breath, or how easy or how hard it is to work that day, because it's like, you're never guaranteed a good run, right? You just get out and it is what it is. Sometimes we have tired legs. Sometimes we feel energetic. Sometimes it's just the wind is horrible. So it's just not going to happen that day. But just kind of noticing, paying attention, and being grateful for another day of being out, being active. I'll be talking to Candace in a couple of days, and she's injured at the moment and cannot run, and she's so ambitious and so on fire a lot of the times. And I'm curious about her process of like, who am I when I'm not achieving, when I'm not running that marathon, when I'm not, I've had those thoughts too when I was injured and not a part of it. Or even now I'm like, I have no running goals. What is that about? Like,
that's okay though. That's okay.
I know it's okay. And I feel okay some days, and other days I'm like, why do I not have any goals? What's wrong? What's wrong with me? I think running goal.
I like when I get on those time frames when I maybe don't have a desire, if you will, to train for something. I just try to make it fun by switching it up. And I know you like to do this, like go for a hike instead of a run, or do a route that like excites you. Yeah, I used to love the route that we run down Foothill, and we do the cut through with that bridges that we always take a picture with. I was like, that's like I have to do this like once a week. Like, I'm so excited to see that bridge. I don't know why. I don't know what it was, but for 4 months, I went to that bridge like weekly. It was like a thing. It excited me. That's what I did. It could be like running the road and running like all the way down the Skyline Road, turning around, coming over the back, and then running all, you know what I mean? Like, it could just be adding other parts of other routes to change it up. Those are the things, like, I would always get so excited to map a run before.
Yeah. This is partly why I've been joining you guys on your training runs, because it's not in my neighborhood. It's in your neighborhood. It's something different. I'm generally not a big fan of hills. But I was like, all right, I'll come.
But they're not that bad.
Do hills. No, they're not that bad. But it's intentional in order to get me out of this funk, I guess. Boy. It's just to say yes to something new. Say yes to a different route. Running's not necessarily new, but say yes to a different route, to a different training method.
But you did something new. I know that you have done a lot of different, I know you did bar, and you did...
I'm doing bar right now. Yeah.
Didn't you do another, what was before that?
I've done like shadow boxing and
Yes.
weightlifting. I enjoy all kinds of workouts, but by far, bar has been the hardest for me. I've never been a dancer. My legs do not extend like that, but I feel like it builds a lot of hip and leg strength and core strength, and that's exactly what I need to strengthen in my running to avoid injuries. So I'm working really hard. My legs are shaking, but I show up on the days that I don't run. That's what I'm doing, is working on my extensions and becoming graceful.
I love it. That's important. That's like to give yourself grace, find something else that can entertain you during that time. So I think that's great.
One of the other things about like that concept of doing less is I've been asking myself, what is mine to do? Mm-hmm. I'm a control freak. I want to be involved in everything. I want to show up to every kid event with, cookies and homemade something. But I've recently just given myself permission to do life-giving things and say no thank you to some of those other tasks that absolutely do not bring me joy, but are more of an obligation. So I allow other people who love baking, who love showing up for certain events, I allow them to practice what they love and they're good at. But I've decided that I don't want to do things out of obligation, Mm-hmm. Sure. Yes, adult life, there is a certain amount of obligation that we have to do. But I am less inclined to be like, me, I'll do it. I've grown up with that saying that if you want something done, give it to the busy person. And I was like, I end up just doing it all. And then I am tired and resentful and I haven't done anything well. I've just, did a bunch of running around. Yeah. So I am actively trying to build some margins to my life. Yes. I think what is helpful is that I have a new driver in the household. So some of those tasks of take your siblings here or, do a grocery run, I almost have another set of hands or something to send on an errand. But, with 3 teenagers, they're busy in the theater, karate, and church, and homeschool. One of the best compliments that one of our homeschool moms gave me last year, she saw me at a grocery store and we were chatting and she said, "Are you going to this thing?" And I said, "Oh, no, I have to work." She goes, "That's right. You work outside the home. I forget because you show up to everything. You're at every homeschool event. You're in the theater. You're in the church. You're involved with this and that and the other." Yeah. People forget that I actually run a business and that I have a full-time job. And so, but I found that to be a pretty neat compliment because for me, it was that means I wasn't neglecting my kids. I showed up to their thing. And
you did it all.
That is the one thing that I do not want to neglect, right? Mm-hmm. Showing up for my kids. I don't ever want them to feel like, something else is way more important than them or their thing. So, I guess that's the reason why we show up at 5 a.m., right? It shows to ourselves that our health is important. Our friendships are prioritized. Our life-giving practice of running together is a priority, but it does not take away from anything else. In fact, it adds something to our life, right? Yeah. This has been a great conversation. I am curious to see how it all pans out in the next few months. Thank you for being my guinea pig. I am pretty new to this podcast recording thing, but I would love to revisit with you another time and check in and how you guys are doing with your training and life things and how these practices that we've put in place have been working. So
yeah, I want to see how you're doing with the Do Less book too.
You know, instead of doing less, I've added one more thing to my schedule is recording podcasts at like 7 p.m. or, 8 p.m. at night.
That's okay though.
I know I'm hoping this is life-giving, not just for me, but for other people. So
absolutely. Me too.
Well, thank you, Sarah.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Sarah. I've been thinking a lot about seasons and cycles. The theme just keeps coming up for me from all directions. It feels like I'm in the hard season. I'm going to call it winter because I don't love winter. At times I want to just go under the covers and hibernate through this. But that is not what God calls us to do in this season. I actually looked up what a farmer does in the winter season, and Google told me that a farmer mends and repairs their fences and barns, and they plan for the spring season. So that's my focus for this season, repairing the relationships, boundaries, checking my side of the fence, paying attention to those cycles and rhythms, and also planning for when I get out of the season. Soon, I hope. We would love to hear from you. Please comment below this episode about anything you related to or learned today. And please join us next week for my conversation with Candace Gilead, where we explore more about the friendships around us and how we show up for each other.